Hi everyone and welcome to my channel and to yet another snow scene, but this time a much more muted palette. If you haven't seen it already, I made a full video here on YouTube all about the little thumbnails that I made for this, and those really helped me choose the colour palette for this. And if you're interested, I'll be releasing a real-time tutorial series over on my Patreon channel if you'd like to paint along. But I hope that you enjoy the time-lapse version here too. I did 4 or 5 little studies of this painting before making a start, because normally I paint a lot of sunshine, and with this it's the complete opposite. It's such a grey, gloomy day, and I really wanted to see, could I experiment with very muted colours to inject a bit more colour into the photo reference, but to not go crazy on colour, to try and capture that gloomy atmosphere. So many of you gave me some great ideas and your opinions on my thumbnails video, and in the end I decided to go with a little bit of everything, so I'm using some ideas from all of the thumbnails here. I decided to bring the yellow in predominantly by using a yellow paper. If you watched the thumbnail video, you will see that I used an orange tone paper for those little studies, and especially in the foreground and up in the foliage and the trees, some of that colour shone through from underneath. So I decided to use a very blue-violet palette and let the yellow paper do a little bit of the work of bringing some sense of a glow to the painting. So first couple of layers on the paper, and then I pick up a sponge to give it all a bit of a blend. I really love this part. I really look forward to the big blend in each painting that I do like this. And I find that that gives me a great little underpainting with not too much pastel filling the tooth of the paper already. Then I can start to come in a little bit more deliberately with my marks after that point. But certainly that underpainting gets me to a point where I can start to see the whole scene and get some sense of the atmosphere. So a few more times with the blending sponge. I'm really enjoying the texture that using the sponge in different directions is giving me in the foliage behind. And I want to leave those background trees as loose as possible, so I'm going to really experiment in this one and see what kind of mark making I can use, using the pastel sticks differently than I normally do, and then allow myself to go into a little bit of detail as we come into that midground area and then forward into the foreground where the dog is. Such a lovely photo reference sent to me by a friend, and I was delighted to take this on because it presents such a challenge to me, because normally I just throw vibrant colours at things. That's usually my solution, and I love to use vibrant colours in my work and to exaggerate colours. So if anything, I tend to exaggerate the colours I see in the photo reference and make them more vibrant in the painting. And when I tried that out in some of the thumbnails, it did give me a lovely effect. It's always lovely to use opposite colours, but in this case it just didn't really capture the gloomy greyness that you get from this kind of wintry day. This scene is from Scotland, and there's a certain bleakness to the cold weather up there, and I really wanted to try and capture a bit of that feel, because I always try to capture sunshine. That seems to be my go-to in every painting. So this was a different challenge. I tried to use colour, but not vibrant colour, and be really subtle with my colour choices and use colours that are very close together in tonal value, so really slight changes, especially in some of the lighter tones, which you can see here as I'm working on the lighter snow in the midground. Keeping it all really cool, but you do get a little sense of the yellow paper still shining through in some places. And along with the darker purple in the background area, I used a warm tone of Terry Ludwig. It's quite a greyed out brown earthy tone. And that just brings a little hint of warmth into those background trees. Because I'm using a lot of light violet tones rather than really cool icy blue tones, it does bring just a little hint of warmth to the atmosphere. And I decided not to bring in any yellow tones with the soft pastel to try and leave it that little bit more gloomy and hope that some little bits of yellow paper shine through. So on to the collection of logs here. As long as I've got those darker tones in first, then I can just use my lighter marks to shape the logs where the snow is lying on them. So tonal value here is really important because you can see that none of these actual colours are in the photo reference. And I'm really using the photo reference for tonal value. And I've kind of chosen different colours to fit each value on my scale. So it is possible to inject more colour into a grayscale photo, for example. This was a nice exercise in doing that, as the photo reference is almost grayscale. So I will release a full-length series from this over on my Patreon channel where I'll list all the colours and you'll get to watch this along with me in real time while I narrate. And what I'll be talking about loads in this one are the colour choices and where I took artistic license when using this photo reference, because you can see it's not an exact copy of the photo. So lots to talk about in this one, lots of unusual colour choices. I certainly wouldn't have picked this palette of colours if I hadn't done those little thumbnail studies to begin with. And then also lots of different mark making, some things I haven't really done before when using soft pastel. And that's mostly up in the trees towards the top in the background. So I used this little painting as a way to experiment with a few things that I've been wanting to try. So just creating a little bit of perspective with the help of the footprints in the snow and trying to give some sense of the mound of earth that's in front of us, so it's not just a flat area. And I'll try to use the light and shade to show that, but the footprints also help, just the angle of them and having them disappear into the distance. So using the pastel on its side, I don't want to have to paint every branch. I'm not sure if I would have taken this reference image on a few years ago because I would have been so put off by all of those trees and all of those branches in the background. I would have probably tried to paint every one of them and went insane trying. And these days I'm trying more to experiment with how little I can do to try and capture something like that. and trying to simplify what I see. And while I still love creating detail, which I can use in the foreground and the different parts of the painting, I would really love to be able to loosen up in the backgrounds especially, and then combine that with a bit of detail in the foreground. So I don't seem to fit into one category very neatly at the minute. I'm either torn between realism or a slightly more painterly style, or I think what it is I'm more interested in seeing, can I combine the two and make use of all of the lovely mark making abilities you have with soft pastel. So just a final layer of light required on the foreground snow. And you'll see when I start to add in this highlight colour. And this is a very pale lilac tone. So no white used. So this is my brightest colour here, on the foreground snow at least. And I'm just using that to create a bit of texture. Little hints of the yellow paper are still showing here and there, which I like. And just adding a little bit of dimension and shadow on the dog where I can, or a little bit of highlight. But it really is a very dark silhouette in the photo reference, and I kind of like that. I kind of like the blocky shape that the Black Labrador makes. So a very enjoyable little piece. I'm really enjoying these snowy landscapes, and I hope that you're enjoying them too. If you did enjoy this, then please do hit subscribe here on YouTube. And don't forget, if you'd like to follow along with the real-time tutorial series from this, visit me over on my Patreon channel. But thanks very much for watching this here, and until next time, happy pasteling.